Welcome to week 3 of our Destination Cork Summer Series, everyone, and thank you for tuning in and watching this when you get a moment. We are very excited to be featuring Cultural Cork Calling, all the C's. I love alliteration. Today, and to be chatting to some of our friends from the inspirational world of the arts, culture and historical attractions. Cork's vibrantly beating cultural heart is something of a hidden gem, in my opinion. There's so much going on, but it does take a little bit of research maybe before your visit, or maybe chat to a local or talk to a travel agent or an Ireland expert, or before your visit, so that you find out exactly what's on so that you can make the most of it. Or indeed, you can chat to our fabulously learned concierges here if you do happen to come on site. And there's just so much, a wealth of cultural experiences right here on our doorstep in the city, many of which are free and all of which are easily accessible by couples, families, groups alike. So much fun for everyone to do. And here to tell us a little bit more about our finest cultural institutions firsthand are Professor Fiona Kearney from the Glucksman Gallery, Gillian Hennessy from the Triskel Art Centre, Mary McCarthy from the Crawford Art Gallery, and Shane Clarke from Nano, Nagle Place. So firstly, we're going to hop across to our neighbours at the Glucksman Gallery. It's literally right across the road from us at Hayfield Manor, and for that reason we always recommend it to our guests who are strolling into the city from our doorstep. The building itself, you can just probably see the end of it here right behind me, while it's on the grounds of a university that was established in 1845, is actually a really fantastic, inspiring, award-winning contemporary design, and anybody with any interest in architecture I know will love experiencing it firsthand. The versatile gallery spaces have welcomed and continue to host a vast array of creative exhibitions and events to delight both young and old audiences alike. So I'm going to hand you over to Fiona to share a little bit with us about how the Glucksman Gallery was established here in Cork and what it offers to students, locals and visitors to our city alike.
Thank you, Karen. Well, the Glucksman was opened by President Mary McAleese in 2004, and since then we've tried to present ambitious exhibitions of Irish and international art on a seasonal basis. So there's always been something kind of different for your visitors, particularly for our students. And we try to emphasize learning in an enjoyable way through contemporary art practice. And I think it's important because, looking at the building there, part of the experience that we offer is the galleries and the art spaces, but also a beautiful cafe, many events and educational activities, because we're very aware that particularly our students, for them, this might be the first cultural institution they encounter. And I think the Glucksman was set up very much to encourage people to have that art experience rooted in their student learning, so that they will hopefully go on throughout their life as someone who kind of has something, to learn and know about the arts. And part of our job is to direct people out to the many other cultural institutions. We act a little bit like a pivot point between town and gown. So we're right at the edge of the campus, just down the road from yourself in Hayfield Manor. And I think that kind of essential connection for the university to the wider world, giving a little window into the visionary research that happens across our campus, is something that's quite unique to the Glucksman. In that, I think that sometimes there's a sense of these contemporary art spaces for many of our students as being something that just isn't for them. And what we try to do is coax them in all kinds of ways, whether that's like a concert or a DJ set, whether it's a family activity, whether it's just coming up to buy something in our shop. And then they kind of come in and they might just notice some of the work. We would have talks and tours and different ways of encouraging, actually even as part of their formal learning programs, a way of engaging with the gallery. And what we've seen, because we are now 16 years old, that many of our graduates come back to us and they hold the Glucksman very dear, and through that have discovered what I hope will be a lifelong love of visual art.
Thank you. It really is like a fascinating building and a fascinating story, and we love sending people over to the grounds of the campus, which is spectacular itself. But they always come back to say, wow, it was totally unexpected, even when they walk through the grounds and see it there and pop in. And it's really great and fantastic as a student at UCC to have that right there in the middle of your learning experience. And as you say, an introduction to what will hopefully be a lifetime appreciation of art and creativity. So we love it. And then as we continue on our cultural tour on foot, even if you wish, right into the city centre, we would always strongly recommend that everybody all visitors amble into the Tobin Street treat, that is the Triskel Art Centre. It's tucked away just off the surrounding bustling main streets of the Grand Parade and Washington Street. And I think myself, its slightly concealed location adds to the charm no end, because you really feel like you know the secrets of the city if you're heading down this little side street to attend an event, to soak up some live music, or to watch a film here. Gillian, can you share a little more of the history of this atmospheric venue itself and highlight some of the exciting events that you host there, please?
Will do. Thanks, Karen. I'm always happy to talk about Triskele, and we definitely are a hidden gem right in the heart of Cork City. So Triskel Art Centre has been around for over 40 years, and we've moved locations around the city throughout those years before settling in Tobin Street. And next door was Christchurch, which borders onto Bishop Lucy Park. And it was home to the City Archives for many years. But our artistic director, Tony Sheehan, always had his eye on it for a concert venue because the acoustics in there are just remarkable. So when the archives moved, Triskele took over the Christchurch. It was a huge redevelopment. Everybody had to move out for a while before we could move back in. Then Triskele Christchurch was launched in 2011. And that is where we have most of our events. So we have art house films 5 nights a week. We have live music concerts. We focus on jazz, on classical, on folk. We have literary events. And then we also have a contemporary art space in our gallery space where we have exhibitions on right throughout the year. We're certainly missing them right now. And we also, throughout the year, we partner with a lot of festivals such as First Fortnight, Cork Midsummer, Cork Folk Festival, Cork Film Festival. We also partner with Fame Lab, which is like the X Factor for scientists, and Summer Sing, which is a wonderful festival for children, which is singing and music. But as one of the organizers said to me before, she likes bringing the children into various different venues around the city. So the children have been in the Glucksman, they've been in the Crawford, they've been in Nano Nagle Place, because she wants to give them that sense of ownership over these buildings, which might seem a little bit intimidating. As Fiona was saying, you know, you want to really foster that love of the arts, like from a really young age, so that you just grow up with it and it's natural and you just feel really comfortable walking in. So we love having the children there, and definitely by the end of it, I can join in all the singing and the dancing as well, which is great fun. Pre-COVID, there was always a lot going on. Films, music, arts. We're also headquarters to the Theatre Development Centre, which is managed by Cork Artists, and we're home to the Cork Traveller Women's Network. There's always so much going on in the building, people wandering in to look at the beautiful stained glass windows, and then to kind of linger in the art gallery, sit out in the garden for a little bit. So lots going on all the time. We're really looking forward to getting back to everything. I suppose particular highlights for me since I started with Triskele a couple of years ago is the lunchtime concerts on Saturdays. They're really, really popular. We focus on classical and jazz for those, and you see a lot of the same faces coming back week after week, concert after concert, and really just fostering that love of music. It's because the concerts are about an hour long, they're a really nice opportunity for someone to take a chance on music maybe that they haven't experienced before. You can come in, you're in the city for just the hour, you listen to some beautiful music, it's wonderfully mindful and relaxing, and then you get to wander off around the city and head down to some of the other places.
Oh, I love it. I love that all of the people we're talking to here today have so much on offer, from the youngest of visitors to the oldest of visitors. There's just something that will really appeal to everybody. And I love Triskele. I've been lucky enough to go to some events there myself. We had a Network Cork one there with Rosemary Smith, the rally driver. Her story was incredible. And of course, the venue was fabulous. And then just before we stopped going anywhere, we were in there with you again, with Brown Thomas. And we heard the beautiful Roisin O singing. And that is a memory that has kept me going through the last few weeks of no activity and no going out. So I love Triskele. It's fantastic. And staying in the heart of downtown Cork, our next stop on the cultural scene has to be, of course, the iconic Crawford Art Gallery, just above my head here, the red brick building. It was originally built in 1724 as the city's custom houses, and it is home to a huge array of sculptures, paintings, and creations from a variety of homegrown art and foreign artists. Again, it's located within minutes of the main thoroughfare, Patrick Street, or Pana, as you might hear some of the locals refer to it in the sing-song Cork accent. And it's just at the helm of the pedestrianised shopping street Upper Lane. So really easy to get to and to visit. It's a real joy to visit any day of the week, including Sundays, which I think is a real asset to have it open on Sundays, because so many of our visitors, families and couples and small groups, want to pop down and to avail of the exhibitions, or to enjoy coffee or fresh cakes. They have lovely fresh cakes in the beautiful coffee shop there, or even enjoy a child-friendly workshop. So Mary, I know that there have been many beautiful restorations of the gallery itself and of the exhibitions there in the last few years, and I know you have exciting plans for the future too. Can you please share a little of the Crawford Art Gallery's evolution from Customs House over the centuries, and give us a hint of what's coming in the next few years, please?
Hi, and good morning, everybody, and great to see my colleagues here as we're all getting ready to kind of, I suppose, be part of that reopening of Cork and indeed Ireland. And like so many, we're opening on the 29th, and we will be open 7 days a week. So we're going from Monday the 29th, and we'll be open into the future, hopefully all going well with the kind of COVID project. I suppose, as you've kind of indicated, Cork is a very vibrant place, and we can see that from everybody talking around here. And I think part of that is that Cork is an old city, and you referenced that, yes, the Crawford Art Gallery started life as a customs house. It's a city on the water, a city of real significant Dutch kind of influence, with a lot of the kind of significant red brick that we see in the city. And I suppose the original building, which is now our award-winning restaurant, the Crawford Art Gallery Cafe, was the original customs house. So it was right on the dock, on a waterfront body, was right in front of it, and we were right on the river's edge. So it was a significant place of trading. And you'll see on the building facade, actually, there's incredible kind of pineapples, which are embossed into the building and on our kind of railings around the building, which was the significance of the trade with the kind of Far East. So there was a significant out of Ireland with butter, and in came spices, port wines, and the link to the amazing kind of food market. Phenomenal statistics from the food market, actually, that more port and olives were consumed here than in mainland Europe. So I suppose from that point of being a customs house, we still have the original fireplace, actually, in the Crawford Art Gallery. And from there, in 1818, Cork City welcomed these incredible sculptures, the Canova cast. I'm just going to kind of show you. And if you look up at our website, you'll see this was an incredible gift of over 200 sculptures to the Crawford Art Gallery from London via Rome. Some of them, 11, which we've authenticated still, are Canova, the very incredible kind of sculptor Canova casts, and they're really a rarity on a European link. And actually that links us to UCC, to Fiona's collection UCC, which also has a very fine kind of plaster cast collection from that period. But I suppose that particular moment of those casts coming to Cork, which was this gift, puts us on an international map. It enabled what then became a School of Art to open in the Crawford building in 1818. It welcomed its first students in 1818, 1819. So I think that, you know, we're always saying that Cork's a cultural city. It's been a place where artists have been trained here in many art forms for a long period of time. So that gives us this kind of edge as a very cultural city where artists make things. There's a high level of artists still working and making in Cork. And that School of Art, in one form or another, remained on the site on Emmett Place where we are until 1979. So it's been a site of making of art until that period. I suppose just prior to that, it was also a site of kind of, it had a link to the medicine school, what's now in UCC. It was a school of anatomy. So it really was a place where science, business and education were. So it was very enlightened, I would say. The building we're currently now in, as you say, is a combination of 3 buildings. So there's the 1734, the original Customs House. Then in 1884, a wing was built for the sculpture collection and funded by William Crawford, the great kind of philanthropist from the Beamish and Crawford brewery. So funded a sculpture wing for us. And then in the year 2000, a Dutch architect won a competition to build a modern galleries, the Van Eckert. So 2 modern interventions into what was traditionally a courtyard. And we're now just about to go to architectural design competition for the 4th wave of an intervention, a new entrance, a new storage, and new connectivity between the galleries on the site and in a place. So I suppose what I'd say, it's a building with a rich history. It's got a maritime history. And actually, we're going to be telling more of that history in the building in the future. So there are certain rooms in the building that actually people would have slept in, like security guards. So it has a rich kind of fabric of an oral history of Cork. And traditionally, it's got some of the finest 1700 architecture still visible, I suppose, in the city. Those deep window bays, fantastic flooring, some fantastic plaster work, which we're now going to a major conservation project on. I suppose just skipping right to the future, if you come in at any time over 7 days a week and including Sundays, you will see, I suppose we're home to part of the National Collection, being a national cultural institution. So you'll always see a mix of contemporary shows, the Canova casts, which I've referenced, are on show permanently, and also you'll see some very fine works from our collection. It's free, it's open to the public, and also that award-winning cafe, as you say, it's too tempting with all those cakes, a bit of a hazard to the waistline. But for the summer, the outdoor cafe will also be open, which is a real asset, so you can pour out onto our gardens and in a place. And it was like all the colleagues here on screen, I think that we're lucky that we all have a lot of collegiality. I think we're very fortunate in Cork to have the Glucksman and Crawford as 2 major visual arts centres, and then Triskele and Nano, Nagle and others as places where there's a rich, rich cultural experience. So, and you can do them all really within a day. You can have these very, very interesting, different and bespoke experiences while absorbing them, as you rightly say, Karen, in these incredible architectural buildings.
Yeah, they're really fascinating. Anytime I'm lucky enough to have the time when I'm in town to pop into Crawford, usually for cake and coffee, I will admit, but I've seen the Canova exhibition as well, and just I actually even took my nephews in there a couple of last year for the children's workshop on a Sunday, and they had such fun, and it was just such a different thing for them to do, and like Gillian said as well, to introduce young people to art early and culture, and I just love it. I think we are so lucky to have, as you said, Mary, so many fantastic and usually free things for people to do in the city based on culture and art. We're really fortunate here. And now, lastly, before we leave the city and wing our way back to the hotel, you can do all of this on foot, as I've mentioned, very easy to do. So Cork's very easy, second largest city in Ireland, but very easy to get around on foot. So I would strongly recommend a visit to the Nano Nagle place. It's now a must on every culture, history and tranquility seekers tour of our city, I think. Again, it's tucked off the beaten track, but it's an easily accessible walk, a few minutes walk from the Grand Parade. It boasts a chapel venue, really special chapel venue, a historical tour in heritage buildings, a design shop, a cafe, and a truly tranquil garden within the 250-year plus old site of the Presentation Sisters Convent, Shane, while the heroine and the original founder, Nano Nagle herself, are a huge part of our history here in Cork. Her story and this beautifully restored venue have really only come into their own in the last few years. Can you share a little bit of how it has been developed over the last 7 years to become such a vibrant, welcoming visitor attraction, please?
Good morning, Karen. Thank you for inviting me along, and hello to colleagues. I might just start by saying I'm actually, I moved to Cork from London, and one of the joys of Cork is having such a plethora of really high quality cultural institutions and now friends. So, you know, it is a really cultural, walkable city, and that's a marvelous thing. And we are the new kids on the block, but we do have some pedigree in that our site goes back to the late 18th century. It was until maybe the late 90s a series of 3 schools and a convent, and given the sort of dynamics of inner cities, the younger people and the families left the inner cities and went out to the suburbs, so the schools closed down, and the convent for the Presentation Sisters, a very live community of maybe 30 sisters, in effect died off. So we were left, or the sisters were left, with a series of stunning buildings dating from the late 18th century through the 19th century to the early 20th century school that were, heading towards rack and ruin. And then 4 years ago now, we opened our doors. So there's been a considerable investment in that architecture, in that heritage. And we are now landlords to UCD School of Architecture. We are something of a hidden oasis. We're nearly 4 acres. We sometimes joke that we're an Italian hilltop village in the heart of Cork, because we have all the elements that you talked about, including stunning gardens. And I think actually that's another thing I find interesting about Cork, is that it has a number of lovely parks, but it's also got a number of amazing private spaces, whether that's the Crawford's Garden Cafe, whether that's UCD itself, whether that's the grounds of the Triskel. So we're part of that sort of oasis, or series of oases in the city. So we opened up 4 years ago. We're a combination, as you said, of a heritage centre. We set that museum, we tell the story of 18th century Cork, the Venice of the Atlantic, a seafaring city, a merchant city, not an administrative city like Dublin, Dutch city in many ways, as was referenced earlier, a city of great wealth, the merchant princes, and of great poverty. And it's into that context that Nano came, from a very wealthy family, Catholic family, but still very wealthy in penal times, when Catholics were disenfranchised as compared to their Protestant neighbours. She led a little bit of the high life in Paris, in Dublin, and connections into London, but decided in her 20s to dedicate her life to the poorest of Cork. And that was the young people who didn't get any education at all, by virtue of being impoverished and by virtue of being Catholic. So she essentially set up a series of secret schools, and they weren't only secret to the authorities, and at the time there was quite considerable response to such but over time they came on board. She invited a French order of nuns across from Paris, and it's from there she developed the Presentation Sisters. And then over the course of 250 years, the schools developed, the convent developed, and the sisters scattered or went to the 4 corners of the earth. So then we had the 90s and everything closed down. And now what we're really trying to do is tell that story again, and also make it come true in terms of education and social justice for the 21st century. So we have a number of community projects that link with both older people, Cork Migrant Centre, new arrivals into Cork. We have an amazing restaurant called Good Day Deli, which has sustainable food that at its ethos. We have a sustainable shop. We have lots of events on. We're doing our outdoor exhibition this summer will be about 1920 Cork, June 30th, Tuesday through Sunday for the rest of the summer. And I think if you're spending a day here in Cork, spending 2 days in Cork, I think, as well as going to the amazing places that you've already talked about and my colleagues have outlined, I think a trip to Nano and Nagle Place will really show you both the history of the city, the culture of the city, and the welcome for which the city is famous.
Thanks very much, Shane. I couldn't agree more. It is a really, really beautiful place to visit in Cork City, Nano Nagle Place. I think it was last summer, I had a fantastic agent visiting us from the US, and I decided to take her on our way out of the city. We went into the English market for a quick browse, and then on our way out of the city, back up to Hayfield, we strolled into the Nano Nagle Place. And I have to say, I'd been there for a few events, but I have to say the garden in particular totally blew me away. It's so peaceful. Like, you'd never think that in a bustling city that it's there to enjoy and avail of. And the story of Nano Nagle herself, I mean, what an incredible woman. Just really fascinating story. I loved it. And yeah, hopefully we'll send many more people there over the coming months to you. And before we wrap up, let's do a quick fire round of your personal favorites. So Gillian, we'll start with you. Your top 3 Cork foods or drinks to accompany a good movie night with friends.
Okay, so for movie nights, I'm a popcorn and Maltesers girl. The saltier, the better. So I love cinema popcorn. although we don't actually serve popcorn in Triskel. And we've actually become known for it. Like, I've seen people commenting on social media, you know, if there's somebody coming to the city and they're looking for ideas on things to do, people would say, go to the Triskel cinema. They don't serve popcorn. So, you know, that's a great thing. And it's amazing. And, you know, the crisps as well are a bit of a no-go, because people like their peace and their quiet when they're sitting and they're enjoying art house films. But me, it's popcorn and Maltesers all the way. In terms of a drink, you know, the cocktail that I really love is the one up in Bar Pigalle, which is the Mai Tai Boy. It has Tenora in it. It is a pure Cork cocktail, and it is just gorgeous. I actually can't wait to get back and have one. That'll be really good. And the English market then, I mean, that's just across the road from Triskel. So wandering in and around there, any of the places, like, you're absolutely spoiled for choice. Was the one thing about, like, if you're going to bring it into a cinema, especially Triskel, we do get people who are very particular about foods that might be particularly aromatic. They don't like knowing that you're eating your burger and your chips and things like that. But yeah, I love the English market for all of those treats. And yeah, I'll be back to Bar Pigalle soon enough, hopefully.
Oh, I love the mention of Tenora. We haven't heard that mentioned actually on our Destination Cork series yet. So Tenora, for those of you out there who've never had Tenora, it is tangerine flavored, kind of orangey coloured drink, made and consumed, I would say, only in Cork. So it's kind of like Beamish in that regard. It's very local to Cork, but definitely a good one. Yeah, Tenora, nice. So Mary, you're keeping it a little bit cultural. Your top 3 favourite Cork artists?
Oh, that is such a difficult question.
I know.
I cannot go down that wormhole, but what I would say, like, is this very famous Cork painter, James Barry, and I suppose he's got significant works in the Royal Academy in London. He was born in Cork, and we've got some of his masterpieces on show in the Crawford at all times. So he's a historical painter, but there's a whole lot of really interesting links to the very famous Dr. James Barry, doctor, who became the first doctor in the Western world to perform a cesarean, which was his niece, but took the identity of a male to become, I suppose, a surgical doctor. So there's a whole interesting story about Dr. Barry. So I would recommend you see James Barry's paintings in the Crawford and elsewhere. We have a whole host of amazing young talent in the city right now. Right behind me here is a Tom Clement, which I love the colour and vibrancy of it. But I would suggest to viewers, you know, we have such amazing talent here in the city right now because we've had the School of Art here since, as I said, 1818. You've organisations like the National Sculpture Factory, which was founded by some of Ireland's foremost sculptors, and indeed artists like Dorothy Cross, Elisha Connell, Maud Cotter, Vivian Roche are all from this city. And they're incredibly internationally successful artists, but they've come from this place of making. And then I think you have artists who are working on Cork printmakers and the backwater, which are sort of near the Triskel and near Nano Nagle, and they're between myself and the UCC at the Glucksman. I suppose that they're just the level of talent being produced and made here. And I would encourage visitors to check out those websites because there's incredible value if you're interested in buying art or if you're just interested in it. I know Nano Nagle set up a print shop right now as well. So we're all trying to encourage people, I suppose, to access contemporary art where you can. And also artists need that support right now, actually. We need to buy their work. We need to be buying original artworks, and the printmakers is a great place to start. Also, many of the artists, including Tom Clement, which is here behind me, has a big show coming up in Dublin. So all of these are really achieving nationally and internationally. And I know Fiona Kearney from the Glucksman, they have a great project on billboards at the minute, where you can see the work of many of the artists are based here in Cork. I think all of them are based here in Cork, who've responded to this incredible project, Light, for the Cork Midsummer Festival. And I know Fiona's making those available in postcards, which would be another way of seeing and so there are many, and I think that the talent is really particular now. There's a confidence in the city, and I suppose I would hope that we would all support that confidence, both in showing our support for them in their studios, but also buying their work, which really supports them to continue to live here.
Yeah, that is true, and there's just it's amazing to hear about so much going on, like the printmakers, as you say, behind the scenes, and the Wandsworth Gallery, I think, also very near to us at Hayfield Manor. I mean, there's just so much.
In Cork, you probably have that opportunity, and I'm sure my colleagues would agree that, you know, if you were making an advanced visit, whether you're a resident or whether you're coming to the city for the first time, email some of the organisations and they will set up meetings with artists for you. It's this incredible opportunity to talk to an artist about their process. No pressure on buying, but the one thing about Cork is that there are plenty of artists on the streets, like in the cafes, and you have this opportunity to have conversations with artists, actually, which will get you a little closer to their practice. And we know that a lot of our visitors, who very often stay in hotels like yours, Karen, they want that studio visit. They want to get to know the artist. So Cork gives a great proximity to the cultural sector, both in the institutions but also the people.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that is true of Cork. It's a very accessible city. The people are very warm, they're welcoming, they want to chat to visitors, and they would be more than happy, as you say, Mary, to meet people who are coming. And that is a great idea, actually. But at the end of this video, we are going to put up your websites, all of the people here, the websites. So if anybody out there are coming themselves, or if anybody coming this way guest wise and want to set up those kind of meetings, please contact people. We'll put up the email addresses afterwards, and of course contact us at the hotel. Our concierge can also link you in with anybody at these attractions and more. So that is a brilliant idea, actually, and actually something I must say I had never thought of, setting up artists meetings with people. That's fantastic. Definitely something I'm going to work on. So Fiona, over to you very quickly. Your top 3 favorite things to do in Cork City on a day off, if you take any days off.
Mary said, you know, Cork is a city of making, but for me, it's a real city of meandering. And one of the great joys is just to be out in the city and looking at those layers of history that we've all discussed here. So you can walk down South Mall and see how people would come down on quayside steps to what would have been waterways instead of pathways. And there's a fantastic energy in Cork, again, from our artists in creating interventions. So one of the great delights for me when I'm not in the Glucksman is to be out and notice, wow, that's, you know, this new work that would have popped up maybe on, you know, some kind of telephone stop, using a lot of the kind of street furniture to create new work. So as recently as just last week, we had a response to the kind of global Black Lives Matter protests with this wonderful portrait of the abolitionist and social reformer Frederick Douglass, who'd spent 4 months in Ireland. And, you know, I was walking along the city and here's a new artwork, completely relevant, situating Cork within this kind of global discussion.
Of that, and as you say, it's very immediate. To say that there's a new painting since last week is just, you know, in timing of what's going on globally, is just incredible. A great testament to our local artists here in Cork. And I do love going around the city, like you said, and spotting the new ones, you know, on those boxes around the city, and they're really, really nice. They just decorate our city even more than it already is. And as you said, we've lovely, nice wide streets, so it's easy to walk around.
And the other thing I'd say about Cork is it is a fantastic coffee culture. So my favorite things to do is literally just to kind of wander around the streets, and you always know whether it's Filter, Soma, Three Fools. There's really great spaces to stop and have a coffee, and the independent boutiques and shops in the city. So a Lorry on Oliver Plunkett Street would be a favorite of mine. The fantastic design works in Cornmarket Street, where you can get incredible jewellery made here in Cork. Or like I have a 6-year-old, so I'm always being dragged into Pinocchio's just off Hall Street. They have the most incredible array, again, of handmade toys. And I'm just bringing it back, like the Crawford has an extraordinary shop. Nano Nagle has the print space. And I think we're all very alert to supporting local artists, creators and designers, and Cork has a fantastic tradition of that. So like I genuinely, on my day off, one of the things is to just go and browse, to be down in Nano Nagle, to be in the Crawford, having one of those kind of experiences, and then finishing with a coffee in Triskele, of course, too.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to get back in and do all of that again. And then Shane, finally to you. So in addition to the wonderful Nano Nagle, who we heard about today, who would you list? I know you're not a Cork man, but you are now an honorary Cork man. Who would you think your top 3 favorite Cork heroines are in addition to Nano and Nagle?
Well, my esteemed colleague, Dr. Danielle O'Donovan, was going to sit in today, and she's an historian, whereas I am not. But I think one thing that is very, very important about Nano Nagle Place is that we make that, spirit of community and education come alive in the 21st century. So I'd like to talk about three of my contemporaries, actually, and they're from various different spheres of life, and I think that actually says something about Cork itself. I happen to be on the Cork Chamber business group, and the president there is a lady called Paula Coogan, who is the head of sales for the Doyle Collection, Your Good Neighbours.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she's the first woman chair or president of Cork Chamber, and she is an absolutely terrific advocate for Cork and is really taking the Chamber in a sustainable and really interesting direction. So I think that bodes very, very well for the city. My colleague, Dr. Naomi Machetti, who runs the Cork Migrant Centre, and that reaches out to, initially it was to the Polish and Eastern European community, but more recently to the African community and particularly direct provision community. And she is an inspiration in terms of welcoming people and new arrivals into Cork and celebrating that culture. And Cork is a marvellously multicultural and mixed community, and much the stronger for it. And one of the first people I met when I came to the city, and I'm not a person of faith really, although I work in that context, was a lady called Sister Bride Given, who was on the board of Nano Nagle Place and a presentation sister, and a lady of sort of more learning, previously a chaplain, I believe, at UCC, on the board at Nano Nagle Place, previously a head teacher, again encapsulates, I think, that spirit of Nano Nagle and of the city itself, which is so civic-minded and so intertwined in different communities. So I'd like to pay homage to those three women who are, I think, exemplars of a really diverse and interesting and progressive Cork.
Thank you very much. I know Paula very well. She's a legend in the hospitality industry and, of course, doing great things at the helm now at Cork Chamber. We love her. She couldn't work harder or stronger for our city and for her own collection of hotels. So she's fabulous. The other two ladies I must get to know clearly, and it's great to hear about our own local heroes in Cork, and they definitely add to our city. We're lucky, as I said, to be surrounded by so many warm, welcoming, vibrant people in Cork, including my wonderful participants today. And I would like to say a huge thank you to you all, to Gillian, Fiona, Mary, Shane, for joining us. I'm more excited than I was before today to get back into the city and to do this myself this summer on foot, and just really soak up all of the wonderful art and culture and history that we have in our city, and of course continue to recommend it to everybody who comes our way. It really is, it's just a wealth of stuff on our doorstep, and so easy to do and so enjoyable. And we've only just really touched on it here today, so there's so much more for people to experience firsthand when they come to us, hopefully over the coming months. So thank you to all of you for joining me, and to all of you out there for joining us. And tune in next week, please, for our session on Shop Till You Drop. So we're going to stay city centre, and we're going to go for some glitz and glamour, and we're going to chat to some of our friends in the retail industry about fashion and fun, and again, Irish made gifts, a theme we touched on today. So we're looking forward to that, some virtual retail therapy, ahoy. Again, just highlighting how much there is to do in our city. So you can build in maybe some retail and some arts and some culture on a day around town. So we look forward to that next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye. Thanks.